Hello and welcome to section number 4. In this section, we will talk about manipulating file system items such as files and folders. In the first video of this session, we will navigate the file system. Then in the second one, we will learn how to rename file system items. And in the third video, we'll understand how to detect modifications to file system items using diffs and checksums. Then in the fourth video, we will talk about file data compression. And in the last video, we will talk about public key cryptography and use a useful Python library to encrypt the contents of our files. In this video lesson, we will learn how to walk and filter folder contents. So we will deal with walking folders with the pathlib library. We will learn how to delete files and folders, both with pathlib and shutil libraries. And then we will take a look at some code. This is just an example of walking, filtering, and cleaning a messy folder. So walking a folder means listing its contents. This can be done both recursively and non-recursively. Python provides the pathlib module that is an object-oriented abstraction to the handling of the path objects. A path object basically is the address of a file or a folder inside the file system. And this module, the pathlib, helps you to handle path in a very easy way. What you can do is also walk folders very easily, both staying at one level depth of recursiveness and also getting to the top level of recursiveness using shell globals, which are basically a way of expressing file name patterns that need to be found. Using a star allows you to iterate over the entire folder tree you want to specify to the pathlib. Then we can also filter folder contents using the globals. For example, we can list all the PDF files that are contained inside a folder. You can also use the pathlib library in order to delete files very easily. And you can as well delete empty folders using the pathlib library, but non-empty folders. In order to delete a non-empty folder, you need to use the shutil standard library module, which provides a non-object oriented interface to do that, but it's kind of useful. So let's take a look at some code. Here I printed out for you the contents of one test directory I have on my file system. It's called my folder. It contains mixed extensions files like txt, bin, and with mixed names such as numerical names, have words, and so on. And I also have a subfolder which in turn contains files. So this is the starting setup you're going to use to walk folders. And now let's switch to the code. So here for you, I've set up a function which I call tree, which uses recursion, which is something that you probably already know from the previous videos about functional programming. And this basically lists the content of each folder it is given recursively. So these functions accept a pathlib object, and it uses this to iterate over the subfolders of the input path object, and then it stops at the leaves of this recursion, and you get back a list of pathlib objects, each one standing for each of the items that are found during the walking of the input pathlib folder. So I will use this in order to basically explain you how it is possible to iterate over recursively over folder contents. Here in my main function, what I do is I declare the path of the test folder in a relative fashion and in an absolute fashion using the pathlib. As you see, the resolve method is very easy to use and helps you to basically allows you to resolve a relative path into an absolute path. Here, what I want to do is to start walking the test folder. So I will use my function, which I call tree. I'm getting the output items, which is a list of pathlib objects, and I'm printing this out for you. In the second example, I just want to walk the test folder, but only take into account text files. So here I can leverage the built-in recursive glob function, which I can invoke on the starting folder. This is the test folder. And I can pass in a shell global expression, which basically means take all of the files that start with any character and then end with .txt. So I'm printing them out. And I just want them to be printed, not the other ones. Same thing I can do using the rglob function that's have a name starting with a 00. So this other glob is useful to, just take those files with a name starting with 00. And I'm printing them out. So let's execute this code. Oh, it's printing out a lot of stuff, but basically it's what we wanted. As you see, the first example just listed all of the subpath of the sub items into the test folder. And these were meant to be absolute paths. And here we go. We have the full absolute path to each and any of these objects, including the subfolder. Okay. And then we have the second example, which is only filtering out the directory contents that are txt files. And here we go. Also recursively, because I've reached into the subfolder. And the last example, I just took out the file names that start with 00. Good. So let's learn how to delete file using the pathlib. In this other example, I'm just showing you how easy it is to delete a file. Just use its pathlib representation and just invoke the link of method on the pathlib object. That's it. So here I'm deleting the 001.txt file, and I also want to delete a non-empty folder. And as I said before, you need to use the shutil module in order to do that. And this module provides an rm-tree function which deletes recursively a directory tree, a file system tree better, and it's taken in as an input a string, not a pathlib object. So I need to take the string representation of that pathlib object of mine, which represents the subfolder of my initial test folder. So let's execute this code. Okay, it deleted the file and the subfolder. So how can we check that it actually performed these actions? Let me switch to the terminal. What I can do here is to use Git as a way to understand file system modifications. So if I type git status, well, I see that the 001.txt has been deleted, as well as the my subfolder in its entirety. So that's exactly what we were aiming at before. So in this video lesson, we learned how to walk folder contents using pathlib and how to delete files using both pathlib and shutil modules. And then we've seen a code sample about walking and filtering directory contents and cleaning files in directory.